6. Eagle Eye TV has done a great job.
And welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6.
We are just having a great time here in Auburn, Alabama. The party is not over yet.
Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader.
Good evening and welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Ethan Clements.
And I'm Sophie Porter. Thank you for joining us.
Yesterday morning, cardio lovers were up bright and early for the 4th annual War Eagle Run Fest. Participants had the option to run in the half marathon or the 5K, and kids 12 and under were able to run in the War Eagle Kids Mile. All runners began the race outside Jordan-Hare Stadium and completed their run around campus or around Auburn if they were participating in the half marathon, finishing their run on the field inside Jordan-Hare where they would receive their commemorative medal. After their run, athletes were able to enjoy music and food on the Student Center green space and take pictures at various photo booths to celebrate their achievement.
Last Thursday, Auburn welcomed Miss America 2025, Abby Stockard, back to the loveliest village on the plains. Stockard got the chance to lace up her dancing shoes again when she returned to the court with the Tiger Paws for the men's basketball game against the Arkansas Razorbacks. Eagle Eye's Sydney Babb attended the following day's press conference and tells us more about our very own Miss America.
By this time, most in Auburn know one of their own was crowned Miss America. Abby Stockard made her return to the community last night to meet everyone with her new title.
Now therefore, I, Ron Anders Jr., the mayor of the city of Auburn, Alabama, do hereby proclaim that today, Thursday, February the 20th, 2025, to be Abby Stockard Day.
After being crowned Miss America, Abby made her return to her home state of Alabama to see her friends and community from Auburn University. As Miss America, Abby is required to take 1 year off of school, but looks forward to returning to the nursing program and Tiger Paws dance team as she attributes much of her success as Miss America to her time at Auburn.
Each of those little parts of my time here at Auburn really played a role in allowing me to step in to this position of being Miss America, and I'm so excited to take what I've learned as Miss America to come back to Auburn and finish getting my degree here.
Surprisingly, Abby's start to pageantry was not the typical one, only beginning once she entered college.
You know, you've always danced competitively. We can borrow an evening gown, and you've got a church dress. So she was just like on a whim and did it, and yeah, she just, went over some questions, and she is a hard worker. She's a perfectionist. She will sit there and work at something until she gets it. And so, and I was like, what do you have to lose? So, and then when she went and she placed third, she won talent at Miss Auburn. So she kind of got the bug. And then the next weekend she went and competed in Miss Birmingham, Miss Cahaba Valley and won. So.
After spending the day with Auburn students and community members, Abby spoke on who she hopes to impact and inspire the most during her time as Miss America.
I want little girls to know the importance of being bold and communicating their needs and always be unapologetically themselves. I want little girls to know that their worth is not tied to the opinion of others, and don't ever listen to someone who says you can't do something because of who you are or where you come from.
And that inspiration she hopes to give has already begun to set in with the youngest in Auburn's community.
She was very cool and nice and pretty. It makes me excited that we have a lot of stuff in common. I'm already working on how to do a lot of stuff so I can move up to more of some cool pageants.
Sydney Babb, Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader.
Concerns have grown amongst American consumers surrounding prices and availability of chicken eggs amidst the increase of avian flu cases in the U.S. Eagle Eye's very own Sophie Porter spoke with Auburn students outside of the Edge Dining about their concerns surrounding access to eggs at Auburn dining halls.
Following the national egg shortage, we're here on the steps of the Auburn Dining Hall. Let's see what students and staff have to say. Following a U.S. outbreak of the avian flu, the nation is experiencing a shortage of eggs. We spoke to concerned students about how a potential egg shortage could affect their lifestyles.
We literally consume probably 6 eggs a day, or 3 eggs and some egg whites. I mean, it's you can look up the studies and stuff. It's literally a superfood, and yeah, it's amazing.
I look at the daily menu and just look forward to what I can eat in there, and if it's not good, I'll usually just go to the student center to get any other food option with dining dollars.
We reached out to the Tiger Dining operations team to find out what they plan to do in response. Quote, currently, we have not had issues with the supply, only an increase to our product cost, which we are able to manage by adjusting our menu mix. We anticipate a shortage of shell eggs and have a plan for each location with multiple alternative menu offerings. We work closely with our local supply chain and corporate resources to gauge and manage impending shortages. The on-site culinary team then creates flexible menu offerings that maintain our high standards. We remain committed to transparency, adaptability, and delivering great food and experiences every day as we navigate through the shortage." End quote. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has since issued a conditional license for a vaccine. Authorized for use in chickens, the vaccine promises to cure the disease. However, it could also obscure detection of the virus in the future.
For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Sophie Porter.
Last week, the Auburn Plainsmen began distributing copies of their latest print, Voices of the Loveliest Village. Distribution went on all throughout last week as members of the Plainsmen encouraged students to pick up one of their latest copies. Voices of the Loveliest Village places a focus on the quieter, often overlooked or forgotten voices in the Auburn community and asks readers to take a closer look at all of the voices that call Auburn home.
Yeah, this is a great addition because we really wanted to highlight a lot of the voices of the village, which is what the issue is called, and that means going to all sorts of different corners of campus, people that come from all sorts of different communities and backgrounds, and highlight their clubs, what they're working on, what they're passionate about, what's important to them, and it's a really great way of learning about some of the people in Auburn that you don't really hear about a lot, and I think it's a really cool, it's full of really cool articles about really interesting people.
Auburn University Regional Airport is constructing a new corporate hangar to combat declining hangar and office space at the airport. I got a chance to visit the airport and learn more about the story. My name's Ethan Clements, and I'm here at the Auburn University Regional Airport right in front of the actual site of the new East Ramp corporate hangar that is in the works for Auburn's airport. On Tuesday afternoon, I had the chance to sit down with Dr. Bill Hutto, the director of the Auburn University Regional Airport, to discuss the plans that are coming into place to build the new hangar.
Well, we're excited to talk about this new hangar that's going to be built. It's going to be an open bay hangar. The hangar floor itself will be 100 by 120, so 12,000 square foot of hangar space, and then office space attached to it will be 120 by 20. So we'll have 2,400 square feet of office space constructed as well.
As demand for both hangar and office space continues to grow at the Auburn Airport, I asked Dr. Hutto what this new hangar will aim to serve.
Well, we have a large demand for aircraft. We have based aircraft and aircraft that want to be based at the airport to keep their aircraft here. So the aircraft will go into the hangar. And then we also have a demand for transit or visiting aircraft, especially in inclement weather, that will want to pay to put their aircraft inside the hangar. And then we have a waiting list for office space at the airport too, people who want to base their business here, so that we will rent the office space to them.
As the project awaits budget approval from Auburn University, the Alabama Department of Transportation and Aviation Bureau provided the airport with a grant.
We're very grateful for the Aeronautics Bureau, which of course is part of the Alabama Department of Transportation. They have provided for us a $500,000 grant, and our state representative, Joe Laverne, has been instrumental in helping us secure the funds, and that extra money there is going to be able to help us fund this project. So we're very grateful for their ongoing help and assistance.
The actual site of the new hangar project will be adjacent to a currently established hangar and the airport's main terminal. Even with the current ramp space for aircraft, the new hangar project will significantly increase the capacity to hold new aircraft coming to the airport. After speaking with Dr. Bill Hutto, the director of the Auburn University Regional Airport, he is ecstatic for the new plans that are coming right here to the Plains. Ethan Clements for Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader. When we come back, you'll get a weather update from Eagle Eye's Bowman Ivester and a political update with Ben Bradfield's Eye on the Hill. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Hello and welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Ben Bradfield with Eye on the Hill, here to give you an update on all things politics. President Zelensky says he is ready to resign if it means bringing peace to Ukraine. That came on Sunday during a presser as the war enters its 4th year. Nick Patton-Walsh has more on the story.
Well, it's important to put a bit of context around the comments by Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky that he would resign if it brought peace to Ukraine or if Ukraine became a NATO member. Firstly, Ukraine isn't likely to become a NATO member anytime soon. The US has been set against it, and of course they probably wouldn't get that membership while they're at war. So that's highly unlikely to happen. And secondly, if Zelensky did step aside, well, that wouldn't really bring peace necessarily. It would usher in elections or some anointed successor. I'm not even sure how that would even necessarily work. I think the chaos there would leave Ukraine probably further away from peace. So he's outlining circumstances that are probably quite remote, but I think it's a reflection of the awful week that's been had and Zelensky's desire not necessarily to cling on to power personally indefinitely. He sort of laughed when he was asked if he was offended by being called a dictator by President Donald Trump and said that if he was a dictator he'd be offended, but he's not, so he wasn't. And I think this is really a sign of how the two men's relationship has begun to overshadow so many of the complex tasks between the United States and Ukraine that have urgently been on the table over the past week, particularly the rare earth minerals deal. I asked the president himself whether or not he felt that if they failed to sign that, it could impact future US aid, and also about his relationship with President Trump.
As I said, we want successful agreement, and if we will understand each other with partners, I hope that it will be. We will sign the first agreement or memo on which base I will prepare other documents. So I hope that it will not have influence on other steps of the United States, and they will not cancel or stop or freeze any support, especially military support, to Ukraine. That's crucial for us.
The president?
My relationship with President Trump? It never was in such best way.
Now, the awkward laughter in the room there, I think a reflection of the ugly reality of what we're dealing with here, that the free fall in relations between Trump and Zelensky has overshadowed so much of this week. And in public, the two sides are so far apart, it seems, on this rare earth minerals deal. Zelensky rejecting the $500 billion demand from the Trump administration that appears to have been in earlier versions of the agreement, may still be in the current document under discussion. Negotiations indeed continued today. He rejects the notion that this previous aid was debt accrued by Ukraine, calling it grants. That's true. The Biden administration did not necessarily suggest the money would have to be repaid, but the current draft, as far as we know publicly, does not contain the security guarantees or promises of future aid that Ukraine so urgently needs. So that an enormous hurdle, and one that the acrimony, frankly, we've seen on display in the past week between Trump and Zelensky is certainly not helping. So yes, awkward moments perhaps, a wry laugh from the Ukrainian president when asked about his relationship with Trump, but a reflection, I think, of the exceptionally complex and unprecedented times that we're in. Nick Patton-Walsh, CNN, Kiev, Ukraine.
President Trump's second term is underway, and so far thousands of federal workers have been laid off or fired. Now fears of more layoffs are higher than ever following an email asking federal workers about their job performance. Maddie White reports.
They want to reduce government, but this is not the efficiency kind of way to go about it.
A TSA officer here at SeaTac
I understand.
Spoke to me on the condition of anonymity out of fear of retaliation by their employer.
There are things that you can do to weed out where there are weaknesses. This is not one of them.
The officer at SeaTac is among the 3 million federal workers nationwide who received 2 conflicting directives this weekend.
It's just chaos.
The first, an email Saturday from the Office of Personnel Management mandating that federal workers reply with 5 bullet comments of what they accomplished last week, CCing their manager.
They're trying to just see if you comply.
Typically, this is not how this would work.
You have a chain of command.
Then, on social platform X, Elon Musk wrote, "Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation."
Boom, you lose your job and you're not going to get unemployment, because if it's a resignation, then you can't apply for unemployment.
And how might this impact your airport experience?
If you are getting dismissal of people that are not complying to this ridiculous email, you're losing bodies that are going to directly impact your safety and security at an airport.
Then on Sunday, workers were urged not to respond. The TSA officer got this email from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. All this confusion now has the nation's largest federal employee union telling its members there is no known authority for Musk to make this claim. Still, many questions linger.
What if this does happen? What's going to happen to my family?
That's all for Eye on the Hill. When we come back, you'll get a national news update from Ethan and Sophie. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. Federal job cuts keep coming. Almost all full-time USAID employees are on administrative leave as of today. That follows about 2,000 layoffs in the agency yesterday. Now other federal workers face a new deadline of 11:59 Eastern Time tonight. Amy Kiley reports on an email they received over the weekend.
This is panic-inducing.
Federal workers have just hours left to make a decision some fear could affect their careers. An email from the Office of Personnel Management gives them until the end of today to explain the work they did last week. In a next post, Elon Musk says he'll interpret a failure to respond as a resignation. But the Departments of Defense, Homeland Security, State, and Energy are telling workers not to reply. The White House hasn't clarified if that puts their Trump-nominated secretaries at odds with Musk. The National Federation of Federal Employees says workers should discuss the emails with their supervisors.
What they're doing is illegal. They cannot fire workers for not complying with this email.
Several unions are vowing legal action, but could be racing against time.
We will likely already have seen a lot of people dismissed from their jobs by the time any court gets around to saying, actually these people deserve to have their jobs.
President Donald Trump is urging Musk to be aggressive, but several polls indicate many voters who support shrinking the government don't like how it's happening.
They want it done in a respectful, in a decent, in a organized fashion, and they don't see that happening right now.
People don't like it when a billionaire goes and bullies working people in this country.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Several recent outbreaks of measles across the U.S. are raising alarm about public health, particularly as vaccine rates among children lag. All of this coming amid massive layoffs at the CDC. At least 700 people were laid off, including scientists in a lab program that helps investigate what causes disease outbreaks. Jen Sullivan reports on the public health concerns.
The rise in measles cases across the country is igniting a public health concern. Over the weekend, cases in western Texas grew to 90 and 9 in New Mexico. It's the largest measles outbreak in Texas in 30 years.
This is a very serious and very dangerous measles epidemic.
Measles is a highly contagious airborne disease. General symptoms include a rash of red spots, fever, cough, and red watery eyes. While the vaccine won't prevent you from getting the measles, the efficacy rate for one dose is 93%, which is given to infants. The second dose, given to kids around 4 years old, is about 97% effective, according to medical experts. If you are vaccinated and catch it, Dr. Hotez says your symptoms will be much less severe. 285 cases were reported in the U.S. last year, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Medical experts say it's partially due to the decline in vaccine rates, and until those numbers go up, the number of measles cases will grow.
I'm hearing from colleagues on the ground there that there may be many more cases that still haven't yet been confirmed.
The measles outbreak comes amid massive layoffs at the CDC, which helps detect and prevent disease threats. Many fired employees expressing concerns over what these layoffs could mean for public health.
While I'm all for efficiency, if we do things the right way, if we go through a RIF, but the sledgehammer approach or of just creating a list, knowing that those lists could be wrong and not correcting those things, and then just, firing people on a whim is unethical.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Greenpeace is going to trial in North Dakota Monday in a case that could threaten the environmental group's very future. The case involves the protests over the controversial Dakota Access Pipeline near the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation nearly a decade ago. Native Americans said the pipeline would endanger the tribe's water supply. In its lawsuit, the company behind the pipeline, Energy Transfer, said the protests were incited by Greenpeace and damaged its business. Greenpeace claimed it only played a minor role in the demonstrations. The environmental organization says the case is a test of the First Amendment. Energy Transfer is seeking $300 million in damages, which is more than 10 times Greenpeace's annual budget. The trial is expected to last roughly 5 weeks.
When we return, you'll get an update on all the big stories in Auburn sports with Cohen and Dalzell. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Cohen Dalzell, back to give you a recap on all you need to know about Auburn sports last week. Let's go. Starting off once again with AP #1 Auburn men's hoops, who didn't fall into the trap of getting complacent after their massive win over Alabama, defeating Arkansas 67-60 on Wednesday and completing the season sweep of Georgia 82-70 on Saturday. In the rematch with the Dogs, Janai Broome reinstated his push for the National Player of the Year award by scoring 31 points, grabbing 14 boards, and sharing the love with 4 assists. Broome is the only player to have that many points, rebounds, and assists against a Division I team this season. Auburn gets 2 more tests this week as they host Ole Miss Wednesday night in Neville Arena before traveling to play 17th-ranked Kentucky in Lexington on Saturday. Auburn women's basketball also took the court just yesterday against 18th-ranked Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Despite leading 20-9 through one quarter, the Tigers lost to the Tide 66-50. Deanna Gaston led the Tigers with 19 points and 13 boards in the loss at the Coleman Coliseum, but Elia Nye's 29 for Alabama helped them dominate the last 3 frames. Auburn plays Georgia in Athens on Thursday before hosting Mississippi State Sunday afternoon at Neville Arena. 11th-ranked Auburn Gymnastics had one of the biggest wins in program history Friday night as they traveled to take on the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa, where they earned their first ever win inside of Coleman Coliseum, taking down number 17 Alabama 197.750 to 197.350. Auburn hosts a big one this Friday night, February 28th, as number 1 Oklahoma comes to the Plains to take on the Tigers at Neville Arena. Let's finish up this Monday night sports edition on the diamond as both Auburn baseball and softball had action this past week. After an early stunner against Holy Cross last weekend, 25th-ranked Auburn baseball righted the ship with 5 wins this week. The Tigers walked off number 24 Troy in a thrilling affair at the Plainsman Park Tuesday night, 7-6. They then dominated North Alabama 6-2 Wednesday before hosting Wright State in a 3-game set over the weekend. Auburn picked up mercy rule decisions in 7 innings on Friday and Saturday, 11-0 and 11-1. Before sweeping the Raiders in a 9-4 victory Sunday. Auburn hosts Samford Tuesday night before traveling to Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas to take on Ohio State, Oregon State, and Baylor this weekend in the Amergy Bank College Baseball Series. After an 11-0 start to the campaign, Auburn's softball was tripped up in Game 1 of the Rocket City Showcase before bouncing back with 3 more Tiger victories. Auburn lost to Louisiana Tech 5-1 on Friday, but defeated North Alabama 2-1 and Miami of Ohio 11-6 on Saturday, as well as Jacksonville State 3-2 on Sunday. The Tigers are now 14-1 and play 5 more games this weekend against Rutgers, McNeese State, and Louisiana in the Jane B. Moore Invitational at Jane B. Moore Field right here on the Plains. That's all I have for you tonight. For more sports coverage, tune in to Sports Night in Auburn at 7 p.m. tomorrow night right here on Eagle Eye TV. When we come back, you'll get a business/consumer update from Ethan and Sophie. I'm Cohen Dalzell for Eagle Eye Sports, and you're watching Eagle Eye News at 6. We'll be right back.
The current U.S. egg shortage has led businesses to look for supply beyond our borders. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, Turkey is the only country the United States imports eggs from. Turkey is set to export 420 million eggs to the United States this year, which according to the Egg Producers Central Union in Turkey is the most ever. Experts warn the increase in egg imports won't make much of a dent in America's egg shortage, especially if the bird flu continues to claim the lives of birds at its current pace. The avian flu has killed more than 140 million egg-laying birds in the U.S. since 2022, and 17 million alone in November and December. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says the price of a dozen large grade A eggs recently hit an average of just under $5. Prices are expected to rise another 20% this year.
One of America's favorite coffee shops announced job cuts earlier today. Starbucks CEO Brian Niccol said the company will be laying off over 1,100 corporate workers. As it tries to turn around its business, the company will also be eliminating several hundred open and unfilled positions. In addition, the coffee chain is going to eliminate about 30% of its food and beverage offerings over the next few months in order to streamline things. Some of Starbucks' Frappuccino blended drinks, its Royal English breakfast latte, and white hot chocolate will be among the items cut, as they're said to be too complex to make and are unpopular with customers.
A federal judge's ruling is allowing mass firings of probationary federal workers to carry on. Employees of the Internal Revenue Service are on that chopping block. Supporters hailed the Trump administration's cost-cutting efforts. Critics worry the terminations could delay tax refunds. Amy Kiley has more on the IRS job cuts under President Donald Trump.
His goal is to abolish the Internal Revenue Service.
They say nothing is certain except death and taxes, but it might not feel that way at the IRS today. The agency is reeling after firing more than 6,000 workers yesterday. A source familiar with the cuts says they're mainly aimed at probationary workers. Many of them are part of a Biden administration effort to ramp up audit rates of wealthy taxpayers and large corporations.
Going after the Internal Revenue Service and firing people just ahead of tax season. It's crazy.
The timing is setting off alarm bells. Most individuals have to file their taxes by April 15th. The National Treasury Employee Union says the terminations could affect that process.
I feel like a grenade is being used when a scalpel would be appropriate.
The union says the firings could reduce customer service availability for filers who need help. Some accountants and IRS workers also warn refund checks could be late this year.
There's going to be even less workers here now, stuff's going to take even longer.
The Trump administration has a different take. In a Fox News interview, the Commerce Secretary argues the IRS cuts are part of President Donald Trump's economic plan.
We mean great, as in no deficit, and basically try to eliminate the Internal Revenue Service and our taxes.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
We're out of time, but for more Auburn news, head over to our website, eagleeyeauburn.com, and check out our social media pages. I'm Ethan Clements.
And I'm Sophie Porter. Thank you for watching, and War Eagle.